Everybody, Tom Pelissero here with Judd Zulgad on an eventful day one of Minicamp, Judd. I actually had the thought this morning as I was putting together, going through the roster and looking up storylines. Harvin was clearly one of them because he'd sat out the OTAs and because something didn't seem quite right. If you go back to what Leslie Frazier said about, well, hey, it's voluntary. It almost seemed as though they didn't know Percy was going to no-show for a couple of those OTAs. You knew there was something there. I didn't quite think we were going to go where we went today.
Well, on May 30th, Percy Harvin raced Adrian Peterson up the hill here at Winter Park. They're both rehabbing. And the storyline was, this is great, 2 of your leaders are here, 2 of your veterans are here, Percy gets it, everything is great. And then today, Percy, really unprompted, tells the media, I'm not happy with my situation, but wouldn't elaborate, given what? Not 1, but 2 opportunities to do so. So we don't know what the problem is with Percy Harvin. There's definitely a problem, and as always, there's drama at Winter Park.
I've heard from 3 or 4 people who would normally be in the know on this thing, and they all said, we have no idea where this came from. There were no indications that he was upset. So whether it was something actually that he was in the meetings and something just sort of triggered him and brought out all these feelings, I'd say this. He wouldn't say whether or not it's the contract. He also would not say that it is not the contract. Leslie Frazier sort of said it's not the contract, but wouldn't go that far either. That's a component of it. I'm sure that on some level, whether that is the crux of this or whether that's just an additional factor, if you don't like, for instance, how you're being deployed on offense, you're worried about that because that could hurt your earning power. Right. On some level, the contract is certainly an issue. The guy's due $915,000 this year. Is he worth more than that in production? Absolutely. He's a highly productive, he's maybe the most productive and talented slot guy in the game. But there's all these reasons that you have everybody in the organization who always talks about Percy. He's loved by teammates. He's loved in the locker room. But people just don't trust him, and they're never sure what he's going to do.
Well, and I think what you have here is more than one thing at work. I think you've got the contract at work here. If they go tear up his contract tomorrow and give him a huge deal, he's going to be happy. But let's be honest. His playing time last year came into question as far as why is he not being used more. He became irritable. I want to say halfway through the season, I think I asked him about being used on kickoff returns, which really shouldn't have been that big a deal. And he said, I'm sick of talking about this. He was irritated with how he was used last season. Today, he definitely made it clear there's more than one factor. There's more than one thing at work here. The contract is definitely one of them, but whether it's playing time, how he's being deployed, whatever it is, something is bothering him. But what is interesting is, as you just brought up, I don't know who he's told. I don't know. He's supposed to meet with Les Frazier. They're supposed to talk about it. But honestly, talking to people in the organization, I have no idea if Percy Harvin has told any of them that he's bothered, which is the thing about this that makes no sense. I appreciate the fact that he told us first that he's bothered. I don't appreciate he didn't tell us what is bothering him. But wouldn't you tell your employer before you tell the outside world? Wouldn't you say, hey, here's what's bugging me. Let's work on this. Instead, it's like he's going about it backwards.
But I would say this. There may have been things that he has raised and feels as though his concerns aren't being heeded. We've seen those sorts of things unfold before.
But see, that's my problem. Then tell us what they are. Don't lead us to water and do nothing with it. That's my problem with the situation. Either tell us, here's what's wrong, X, Y, and Z, and this is bugging me, or don't tell us at all. Instead, he created way more questions and subsequently created more problems for a team that doesn't need problems.
Well, and that's just it. Let's look at on the field for a second here. I think that we saw some sloppy play today. There were a bunch of drop balls. You see the good side of Christian Ponder, that bullet into traffic between 2 linebackers, John Carlson for the touchdown. Later, throws a terrible interception over the middle. I'm not sure where he was trying to go with that ball. Throws it right to Antoine Winfield. That's all part of the growth process and really a huge part of this. Look how they deployed the defensive backs today. It was a lot like how they deploy receivers and tight ends normally, where they're rolling in different guys the entire time. A couple of snaps here, bring in a different unit. It's very clear, because they do have so many questions back there, they want to try out every different combination of guys and give guys some run with the first team, because what was the crux of what went wrong with the defense last year? It was guys didn't work together. In that scheme, you've got to have 11 parts that are all working together. They're going to put those guys out there and see who executes and who has the best feel for that space and zone coverage.
And the Ponder thing today, we saw back-to-back plays from Christian Ponder that you're going to have to put up with this year, folks. On one play, he throws into the end zone in the red zone drill, right? And it's a terrible pass. It's just an awful pass. It goes nowhere. It looks like it should have been picked off. It was not. The next pass, you brought it up. He throws a strike between 2 linebackers to John Carlson for a touchdown. This is what you're going to have to live with this season from Christian Ponder. Maybe not late into the season. He might develop. But this is the on-the-job type of training that's going to take place. This team, there are going to be a ton of question marks, and if you come down to training camp practices in Mankato, at times, it is going to be ugly as all get out, but that's just where they are.
Right.
That's where they are.
And that's the process. They're going to be one of the youngest teams in the entire NFL. When you have a young quarterback, you're going to have to live with some of those mistakes. You want to see those traits to make you believe in the guy as you go forward. And there's a lot of other guys who have stuff at stake in these practices. A lot of what it is, and we watch Rick Spielman, he's perpetually standing 30 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, and after every single play, takes a note to himself. He's taking notes on who is going to be flashing here, who is the guys who stands out on certain plays that he wants to go back. He's going to go back through all this tape later, but he's making notes to himself about what he's seen on the field and what jumps out to him. That's why guys like DeAndre Reed, twice today, getting in the backfield, getting a touch sack during a team drill. Little stuff like that's going to be in the back of people's minds as they go into camp, and guys like DeAndre Reed are the ones who always seem to flash.
And the key thing to keep in mind is Rick Spielman has been doing this with the notebook since he got here. The difference now, it's his roster. So those notes are not going to be suggestions possibly about, hey, Brad Childress, I like this guy, I like that guy. Those notes are going to play a big role in who eventually makes the 53-man roster.
Absolutely. He's Judd. I'm Tom. Full Vikings coverage throughout minicamp all the way through Thursday and beyond.
I got burned today.
You're such a wuss. At 1500ESPN.com with all that other original local content. We'll see you.